Mormons discuss LDS theology in synagogues and schools. In fact, there's an ultra-Orthodox school, a very prominent one in Los Angeles, that just hired a Mormon teacher. Rabbis speak in stake centers. We just had a rabbi also speak at a meeting of the BYU Management Society. There's an LDS Jewish theological dialogue that has been going on for 2 years between a stake president and a prominent conservative rabbi. Last year, we sent 5 rabbis to Utah. They had a marvelous experience. I'll reference that a little bit later. To what can we attribute this success? We've clearly had more success in Southern California reaching out to Jews than Latter-day Saints have had anywhere else in the world. And there's one word for it: synergy. Mormons at all levels in Southern California have contributed to the success of these efforts. They've made outreach to local Jewish communities a priority. The church's Regional Public Affairs Committee established a Jewish Relations Committee 5 years ago, and in doing so, they built on the work of the church's really legendary former public affairs spokesman here, Keith Atkinson. He started reaching out to the Jewish community formally about 20 years ago, and we're riding on the backs of giants today. Stake presidents, and I see President Lamb here, I want to thank him for coming, have supported holding firesides, Passover Seders, and other events to promote a greater understanding of Judaism here. The mission president, we've convinced 2 mission presidents now to invite rabbis to speak to missionaries about Judaism. Mormons have signed up to teach for Korei LA, which is run by the Jewish Federation. It's the largest literacy program in the city for children. And we have Mormons teaching for Jews. Actually, most of their students are Latinos in California. So there's a great synergy working there. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have the active support of the Public Affairs Department in Salt Lake City. And we're very grateful for that. So synergy is what makes this work. Now, also on sort of the micro level, the nature of our communities really helps. One thing that we've realized here is that we are a hierarchical organization reaching out to probably the most non-hierarchical organization that there is in the religious world. So the beauty of this is that every time a Jew meets a Mormon, he doesn't assume at all. In fact, he never assumes that the Mormon is speaking on behalf of the church. Mormons are really concerned about that. Mormons are hyper-concerned, in my opinion, far too much concerned with whether what comes out of their mouth will be perceived by anyone listening as the official position of the church. Jews don't think that way. So the beauty of that is it opens us up to reach out to Jews across the spectrum. And I hasten to add, as I see Catholic leaders here, that hierarchies are important sometimes, and certainly when you're dealing with hierarchies, it is important to reach out to hierarchies. But when reaching out to Jews, we don't have to take that into consideration normally. There is a time for formal involvement. For instance, when the AJC has a yearly Hanukkah ceremony, it's a beautiful ceremony, they request an official representative of the church to attend. But we can engage with them across the board with Reform Jews, and Rabbi Greenebaum is a Reform rabbi. They are very interested in interfaith dialogue. Where it's harder to reach out to them is on issues, for example, that the Orthodox would feel more comfortable working with us on, namely abortion, pornography, gay marriage. So the Reform don't see eye to us on many what we would call moral issues, family issues. But if you're talking about interfaith dialogue, Reform rabbis will invite you to speak in their synagogues. They'll invite you to work on service projects with them. They'll come and speak in your stake. And then you have the Orthodox. And I have to say that we have had phenomenal success reaching out to the Orthodox here. There was an Orthodox rabbi who actually he called me just the other day to tell me proudly that in his synagogue a few weeks ago, he got up and talked about the book of Joshua, which actually, there are many academics here, you may know that Mormons helped bring about the translation of the book of Joshua. He talked about how important it was to Mormons in an Orthodox synagogue. When we held a Prop 8 town meeting, we held it at one of the leading Orthodox synagogues in the city because they felt it was so important. I will hasten to add that many Mormons have expressed their frustration to me about reaching out to the Orthodox on a personal level. The Orthodox in general are interested right now in partnering with people like with organizations like the LDS Church, the Catholic Church on moral issues. But to reach out to Orthodox rabbis on a personal level, there's really no secret. You just really, really have to be interested in Judaism. You have to be willing to go to a lecture on Christmas Eve day on Dina de Malkuta Dina, on Jewish law. You have to be willing to spend a Friday and part of a Thursday going to a conference on the laws of kosher. Unless you're willing to do that, it's hard really to establish a relationship with Orthodox leaders on a personal level, but on a macro level, they are willing to partner with us.